Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. When it comes to putting a roof on your home, turn to the guys so many of us on the show have used, Daniel Hood Roofing. Their work is guaranteed, and their website is filled with testimonials from your neighbors praising their work. Visit danielhoodroofing.com today or give them a shout today. They've always got somebody standing by on the phones. Daniel Hood Roofing. Okay, back with Bob, Will, Chuck, and Marlon. Some of these questions are so obvious I don't need to ask them, but we're going to ask them anyway, and that'll be the first one. High point of the season.
Oh.
I think it's Alabama.
Oh, yeah. The knuckleball kick. The goalposts come down.
Yeah.
Cigars.
Yes.
Alabama. Cigars, goalposts, Alabama, high point of the season.
Yeah.
Low point of the season.
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay. Best individual performance in a game.
Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah.
5 touchdowns,
Five
the school
touchdowns.
record, 5 touchdowns against
I
Alabama.
can make an argument. Eric Beasley against Clemson in that defensive game that he had.
12 tackles and 4 tackles for loss. All right. 2 sacks. All right. Play of the season. Is there a play you were going to think back and
Hendon
remember?
Hooker to Brew McCoy to set up the game-winning field goal against Alabama.
That's what I was going to. That's the one I was going to.
I remember Morrell Keaton's catch. Just the absolute
Ramel
lay
Keaton,
where he
The
laid
stretch
out.
Yeah.
That was not as big a moment, but that catch was spectacular.
I'm still thinking about Hyatt, the touchdown catches against Bama because it was so many. Heupel lost count of them. He thought it was 4 and it was 5.
Yeah.
So
Now we got 2 votes though for the Hooker McCoy pass to set. So that'll be the one. Best coached game. The coaches did their best work in what game?
LSU.
yeah, at LSU.
I'm going to go LSU.
And they started with the opening kickoff,
I tell you
right?
what,
I thought you were going
no.
Clemson.
Yeah, I think until Friday night I would have gone LSU, but I think Clemson. You take a bunch of guys off your team.
Yeah.
You're going against a team that got more tradition, more talent than you probably, even despite some of their guys being missing. So I'm going to go Clemson.
You were the underdog too. And you should have been the underdog, but you came out and you played a defensive game, your best defensive
And the way the defense went after their quarterback, so I'm going to go Clemson.
So I'm the deciding vote, then I'll chime in. I'll go with Clemson as well. The LSU thing was good, but I don't think LSU was at their – I don't think they had put it all together at that point, whereas I think Clemson – you had more people out than they did. So even though they had a couple of guys out, you were undermanned, you were the underdog, they were the bigger brand. I'm going Clemson. You also did it with, backup quarterback.
No.
So, unsung hero of the season. I think we talked about him earlier. I think you guys talked about him. Who would be your unsung hero?
Fant could be a guy that's definitely was a weapon, ran the ball, threw the ball,
Caught the ball for a touchdown.
Yeah, so
short yardage guy, blocker.
Yeah, so
Give Darnell Wright a little love too.
Who?
Darnell Wright.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because good offensive lineman that didn't get a lot of praise his first 3 years.
Top 3 players on this team: Hooker, Hyatt, and who?
I'll go Jeremy Banks.
Jeremy Banks.
I would go Beasley or Byron Young before that.
Okay. Is that because of off-field issues and the fact that he wasn't there for South Carolina
absolutely.
and Clemson?
And I think that's legitimate.
Yeah, that takes away from him.
All right. What do you think? Who's your top 3? Hooker, Hyatt, and who?
I would go. I don't think your running backs. I think you can throw them in there as not getting enough love. And
One guy.
Jabari Small.
Always have to Cavaliers to
Big O. I give Big O some love. Okay. We was tremendous versus the run this year.
All right. And I'll throw Darnell Wright, who you just mentioned. I'll put him in there because his draft stock rose probably more than anybody other than Hyatt and Hooker. All right. Best assistant coach of the year. Golish had the #1 offense in the country. Is that where you're going?
I'm going Kelsey Pope.
Receivers?
We lost our receiver coach this past season. A year ago. That was a big question mark before the season. And now you have a award winner that's never happened here at the University of Tennessee. I go Kelsey Pope.
I'm still going to go Golish, and I think it's as much an impact on the practice field from some of the things I saw.
I'm going to go Golish with Banks coming up on the outside.
Yeah, like a horse race.
Will?
Golish.
Yeah.
Banks. I'm going Banks because, and here's the deal, and I've got a list here. This isn't a hot take. This is the right take. Heupel's offense is always good. Now, I'm not knocking Golish. He did good, but that offense is always top 5 in the country, regardless of who's running it. It's an era of offense. Did you see the playoff games yesterday?
Yes.
96 in one game, 83 in the next game. The 4 best teams in the country each gave up more than 40 points in a playoff game, including Georgia, who's given up 900 passing yards in the last 2 games. Yeah. Tennessee held Kentucky to 6, LSU to 13, Clemson to 14. They were top 40 in scoring defense, though they were tied to that offense. That system, by the way, helps the offense, hurts the defense. Yes. So in terms of degree of difficulty, doing this in an era of offense.
Held Vandy to 0.
Held Vandy to 0. Well, here's another one on Tim Banks. Tennessee, in terms of points per game allowed, 5th best in the SEC this year. And if you're saying, well, that's because they're non-conference games, let's take those out and just look at the Power 5. Tennessee, 4th best in the SEC in points per game allowed this year, behind only Georgia, Kentucky, and Alabama. When I looked at those numbers, Tim Banks had the harder body of work, and he did a better job with it. And for all the idiots who were saying fire him after South Carolina, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Nobody plays defense. You got better defense than I ever anticipated this year. I think you're just going to have to get used to games where you give up 40 and 50 as you saw in the playoffs.
I changed my vote.
Me too.
Yeah, and the bend but not break. Wasn't that the classic case in the bowl game? Bend but don't break.
I'm goalish. Glad he's gone.
And to do that with the secondary that ranked 127th in the country.
Now, if you guys
pass defense.
Well, that's another one. Which team which side of the ball had more talent going into the year?
Offense.
Yeah. And then
which side of the ball had more injuries going into the year too?
The secondary was the worst, weakest link, and then you had injuries all year long. I think it's Banks. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. So give me the.
No,
he's looking at me.
It's all right.
I'm not going to argue it just because those stats. When you look at it, and you see the stats, and you go, okay, well, you have 4th best in the SEC. That's hard to argue. That it's just such a different era.
Yes.
That you look at it and you become disgusted by it.
Yes.
But you know, when I look at it and compare it to the time and the day and the age,
you came in 4th, and in 2 SEC games, South Carolina and Alabama, you gave up what,
63 and 52, 115 or whatever.
Hey, and I throw this in there as well. I was watching the Clemson game, the last game. We had a quick 3 and out on offense because of our tempo. Quick, we're out. Banks now has to put that defense back on the field and get a stop.
Yeah.
He did a much better job than people give him credit for. And people, what we do as fans, we all do it, we look with blinders at our team. And it's like, we gave up 50, we suck. And you were paying no attention to the fact that Alabama gave up 52, and Michigan gave up 51, and Georgia gave up. It's just that's what it is now. General Nealon would wake, if you resuscitated him, he would look at the game and say, what is that? What are they playing out there? All right. When we come back, what did we learn from the playoffs yesterday? What did they tell us about Tennessee this year and about Tennessee next year? We'll talk about that next. Come on back on the Sports Source.